from understanding and enjoying. The consumption society has made us feel that happiness lies in having things and has failed to teach us about the happiness of not having things. Themba, how would you want to define frugality for our audience?
You've used the word happiness in your quote there, Tafadzo. Before I define what frugality is, I just want to highlight the fact that frugal people are the most happiest people in this world. But let's be simple about this concept of frugality, Tafadzo. Frugality is all about, number one, not being wasteful. It's about running an economically productive household. Frugality is about living within your means. That's essentially what it is. It's about limiting your consumption so that you save money. Another way of defining what frugality is, some people equate frugality to saving money. Frugal people are people that are savers. So let me just talk about what frugality is and what frugality is not. So frugality is about being economical with your resources. It's about budgeting and being economical with your resources. It's about stretching your budget as far, as possible. Frugality is about not being consumption, minded. There are people that are consumption minded. They spend and spend, and it's all about spending. If you see somebody who is into buying branded clothes that they can't afford, they are definitely, not frugal. Frugality is about living within your means. Tafazo, we've always advocated for living within your means. That's what frugality is. It's about recognizing that money is a scarce resource. Time is a scarce resource because time and money are very scarce resources. Those resources have to be managed in a very economical manner. In other words, they have to be optimized. So if I were to use another more complex term to define what frugality is, probably I would use the term optimization. So when you are being frugal, you are optimizing your budget. You are stretching your budget so that every rand, every dollar that comes your way is stretched as much as possible. And there are different ways of stretching that budget. So frugality is evidenced by actions that you do in managing your lifestyle. But again, frugality is a mentality. It's really a mentality more than anything. It's a mindset. So one of the things that we would want to achieve in this workshop is to enable our audience to have a frugal mindset. I don't have the time to go and tell you what philosophers have said about this whole concept of frugality, Tafazo. But all the philosophers that have lived, the people that were wise, that have lived, have always been consistent in pointing out that frugal people are the happiest of people in the world. They have even pointed out that frugality is a virtue. It's one of the virtues, so when you Google the word frugality, one of the things that is always mentioned about the word frugality is, frugality is a virtue. It's tied to being happiness, to being happy. So here is the thing, Tafadzo. Many people think that the more money they are going to accumulate, the happier they are going to become. That's not always the case, Tafadzo. I think people who accumulate wealth have reconciled themselves to this idea that money is just a tool that they're going to use to achieve their vision, to achieve their God-given purpose. Money is not necessarily something that is going to make you happy. It's just a tool that will help you to fully live a maximized, life. So frugality is a mindset, Tafadzo. But not only is it a mindset, there are actions that frugal people, do. And we're going to mention those particular actions that frugal people, do. Frugality is not being cheap. Many people always equate frugality to being cheap. When we talk about being frugal, we're not necessarily talking about having a cheap mindset. That's not what we are talking about, here. Frugality is tied to being economical with the resources that you have. Yes, there is an abundance of money in this world. And we always encourage our viewers and our listeners to always have an abundance, mindset. But even though money is abundant, it's still scarce. It still has to be managed in an economic, manner. So what is, frugality is not being cheap, and never equate frugality with being, cheap. It's not about having a cheap mindset. That's not what frugality, is about. So I've defined, Tafat, what frugality is, what frugality is not. So let's not think of, people who are frugal as people who are cheap. Frugality is not, being a miser. It's not being, miserable. We not talk. So don't equate frugality with misery. That's not what we are talking about, here. We're not talking about having a poverty mindset. Frugal people do spoil themselves, from time to time. If I may say a sentence that summarizes what frugality is all about, probably the best description that I can give you, Tafadzo, is it's, frugality is about a rich man who lives in a poor manner. So frugality is where you see a rich man who does not announce their presence. You would think that they are a poor man because they are frugal. If you see somebody and you can tell from a distance that this is a rich man, that's not a frugal rich man, Tafato. Most people that I know that are frugal, you would know that they are rich when you look at their balance sheet. So if I may define frugality from a financial point of view, frugality is having a large balance sheet and a small income statement. That's what frugality is all about. It's about a mindset that seeks to acquire assets and limits your expenditure. Many people have got a large income statement, but a very small balance sheet. So when I talk about income statement, I'm talking about consumption activity. I'm talking about consumption expenditure. So people that are not frugal spend quite a lot. But if you ask them about their asset base, they don't have assets. And even the assets that they have are borrowed. That's not a mindset of frugality. A mindset of frugality is where you invest for the future. You are long-term minded. You are all about building assets, but you are also about saving money and limiting your consumption.